Wellness Show, episode 59.
Welcome to The Wellness Show, a podcast on health and wealth. I'm your host, Tyhson Banighen, the founder of the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy. Join me as we get the latest insight, tips, and strategies from wellness providers, coaches, and successful, heart-centered entrepreneurs, and much, much more. Go ahead, you're going to ask me something.
Oh, I said, okay, I do have a question. When you're engaging with the elementals, do you do something when you're going to talk to them versus like when you're talking to somebody and then you talk to the elementals and then you go back to talking to somebody else or talking to yourself? Do they always just hear you? Or?
Yeah, I think they can, but I think it's... I think the more that you're in what I would call the divine flow, the easier it is for them to understand. So I've just worked with a hypnotist, and I don't know if I told you about this, but the session I had with him was very, very powerful because it gave me the feeling of what it was to get out of my own way, out of my brain, my rational brain, and what it felt to be in theta or the flow. And what he did is he just took me down 5 steps, just counted down and said that I would be in a peaceful state on the count of 5. So I don't know how effective I am at doing it myself, but certainly soon after I could do it very well. Now I'm not sure because I'm getting so used to the state of how effective I am at counting myself down. But I do know it really, really settles me down. So the way I do it for myself is my intention is when I count down from 5, I will be in the theta, connected to source and part of the divine flow. And then I count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I say theta, just to remind me the state of the flow I want to be. And theta is the same as the meditation. If you were doing, theta work, and that is, Vajana teaches you to come out through your crown chakra in the light and go through all the different stages, going through the different spheres. So this is her 7 spheres. Oops. I mean, it's pretty simple. There's rocks, plants, animals, ancestors, angels, the loss, and then the creation of all that is, right? And that's the 7 planes of existence. And then I started with other explanations, started to add to this and play with it some more because I love the simplicity of this, and it helps me understand the role of the chakras, the role of going up through my crown chakra and going to the 7th plane here, which is the creation of all that is, which are on, and the other way of looking at it is going inwardly. So there was a great Google video that I just saw where this beautiful lady's lying on the grass outside of Google, and they take a picture of her, and then they take a picture of her from above the trees, and then from the earth, and they go all the way out through the galaxy to as far as the reaches can, and then they come all the way back down to her on the grass, and then they go into her inner eye and go all the way down to the mitochondrial, all the way down to the lowest level inside of her, and then bring it up. So, it's one and the same thing, whether you're going inward or you're going outward, you're into the whole of everything. So the counting 5 steps down to theta is the same as going out through your crown chakra and connecting to the source, beyond the galactic center. So it's the same process. One's going inward and one's going outward. So when you're in the flow, that's the way in which it's easy to communicate with animals. It's to communicate with your child too, because sometimes the words just get too much for him. There's too much brain going on. And when I think you've done this before, when you send him a mental picture of what you want, he gets it right away because most kids are are operating a lot of the time on the nonverbal level. The pictures is a holistic impression. They get it right away. So, I mean, you can do that with people that are ill and you think that they're unconscious, or you think that they can't hear you. You can carry on a conversation with them or send them a mental image. You can do that with animals. Anyway, so in that divine flow is a great way in which to then communicate with the elementals. So you could just say, every time I count from 5 down to 1, I'm in theta, which allows me, my intention is to be on the right vibrational frequency to talk with elementals. So you set the intention before you actually do it.
Okay.
Or you can say, you know, when I count down, I'm in theta, I want to communicate with my guides, or I want to call in my guides, right, to assist me in doing a healing. Or when I count down to 5, I want to be able to connect to my higher self so my dowsing is more accurate. Or so you have an intention, a countdown, being in theta. Theta connects you in the vibrational frequency to all levels of creation. So if you do that and then come down, so like here you are, this is the creator of all that is on the 7th plane here. Once you connect with creator, you can go down to any one of these levels and according to her, not be bound by the laws of each level of creation. So some believe that if you work with crystals, you have to abide by the rules of crystals. I don't really believe that, but I do know it's safer to always connect at the highest level and then go down and work with each one of these elementals. So and this is the rock kingdom here, and that would be the 4 elementals would be even below the rock kingdom, which would be, you know, the fire, earth, air, and water would be at level 1. But the crystallization of them in the physical plane would be rocks and minerals, right? And water, of course, and air. So anyway, hopefully that helps you have an idea of one of the ways that you could contact elementals. The other thing is that he talks very much about if you want to go talk to undines, which are the water spirits, is to imagine that you have scales on part of your body, on the lower part of your body, that you're part fish, like mermaid or a merman, and that they understand that symbology, and therefore you can carry on it and an experience with the undines. The elemental of fire is salamanders, and you can just imagine them in the flame and have a conversation with them over a campfire and get used to how it is to work with the salamanders. And air, the easiest one for me is I talk to the sylphs. The sylphs are the huge wispy clouds that do all the work of clearing away chemtrails and cleaning up the sky. And the sylphs are huge, huge beings that are always cleaning up the air, and they're highly intelligent beings. Some of them are from other planets. Some say that some have come from Jupiter in order to help clean up the earth. So they're interdimensional travelers, sylphs, very intelligent, huge beings. And then the gnomes. The gnomes are thinking of dwarfs and all of that. And then when you get to plants, you're thinking of fairies and all of that. But the elementals have said many times to me is imagine how difficult it could be for us to allow ourselves to be recognized or seen by humans, is that we're like orbs or disembodied energies. And we're like a bright light or an orb that you would take with a camera. But to show up so humans can understand who we are, we have to dress up in the image of what you think we would look like. So I have to come from an orb as a fairy to something that has wings so that you can recognize who I am. So, or the Mayans had glyphs, which are sort of like very squarish in each glyph. So how would you imagine to be an elemental that has to distort yourself into look like a glyph? So the Mayans can recognize you. So the thing is to remember is that if you can talk to them on the theta level beyond shape and form, it's easier for them because they don't have to show up in the physical in the way in which you can see them. So I may be wrong, but I think one of the easiest ways is to think of them as orbs. And allow do you have a camera?
Yes.
Because one of my friends takes the most incredible pictures of nature, of spirits. But they're in the rocks, they're in the smoke, they're in the trees. And he's just told, point your camera here, take a picture. Point your camera here, take a picture. And then when he looks at the pictures, you'll see the face, or you'll see the entity in the smoke, or you'll see it in the clouds, or you'll see it in the rock, or you'll see it in the in the stump. So that's the way that he does it. That's the way he gets to see that he is communicating with elementals. If you have a camera that is sensitive to taking orbs, some cameras are better than others, and I don't know if you have one that you've taken with orbs before. You can do the same thing, especially around night or getting darker, or even when it's dark. You just are told, point your camera this way or point your camera that way. And the amount of orbs is really an indication that there's fairies and there's elementals around. And the more you do that, and the more they come to play with you, the more that they welcome you because they know that you're looking for them. And then there's experiences that I know that people have where they get so used to the idea that they're going to see undines, is that they come around the corner with a camera and there is a little being playing in the water. And they get a picture of the little being playing in the water. So it's just allowing yourself to be aware of how they might show up and allowing that to happen. It's a little different than imagining the fairies are going to do a chorus line and come dancing across your porch. But, who knows? Maybe they will.
Yeah. I got those ideas from Walt Disney.
Yeah.
I thought about that. I was like, I think it's like this Disney version of what should be happening, or what I should experience or something.
Yeah, I think if you allow all these other ways so that they could show up, they will show up for you.
Wow.
So any other questions? That was lots of fun.
That was. I checked out the Global Healing's website.
Yes.
David Adelson, and I downloaded a couple of his audio healing sessions, and they've been really great.
They're very powerful.
I got yeah, very, very powerful.
I actually get now. I get to support. I actually get to participate with them live every Sunday evening at 5, and
wow.
And then they come out, I guess, the following week. They're posted on the website. So that's a wonderful experience. Is to take that time every week to tune in and allow that to happen. And it's about an hour or so long, but I think it's just as powerful. I mean, if it were something you felt called to, if you wanted to be part of that and do that live, although I can't imagine with your busy life and with a child trying to carve out an hour on a Sunday afternoon, I just can't see that happening. Whereas I can see you being able to download it and listen to it here and there and whenever, right? Or even just, the beauty of it is you can just run it in the background, right? Just play it.
Yeah.
Just play it.
Yeah.
And everything will change around you, which is beautiful. It really does. It changes my consciousness. Helps me do that.
Yeah.
That countdown that I'm talking about, which I'm using on a daily basis. So every time I feel that I'm pushing whatever I'm doing, or I'm stressing out because I feel I need to be doing in order to succeed, I do that countdown, go into Theta, and let go of it all, so I could just be in the flow. And as a mom, that might be really helpful for you too, is as you get stressed out, just if you could just take, even a short period of time to do that, allow yourself just to feel the flow, even for a microsecond. It will just help you adjust your vibration as you move through the day.
Yeah.
All this is illusion. Go ahead.
The counting down from 5 is very quick and simple for me. I can see myself doing that easily.
Yeah, and you know what it's like to be in that state. I mean, if you've done Kundalini yoga, you know what it is to be in the flow. Whether it's taken you half an hour to get there with meditation, or whether it's been by doing yoga, you know what it's like when you're there. So it's part of your DNA. It's part of what you already know, that very much in your being. So allow yourself to be renourished by dwelling there as many times as you can during the day, even if it's just a short period of time. It'll be just like taking a spiritual bath. You'll be so refreshed and so ready for the next. And your mind will just flow with more ease and grace. Not that it isn't already. I mean, when you think back to when we first met, your life and now, it's like completely different.
It is completely different. I was desperate for help. I really was. I was freaking out.
Yeah.
I was losing it. Yeah. It's amazing to think about what's happened.
Yeah, it's very,
really
very exciting.
Yeah. I checked on my master sheets for my class from the healing manual, and everything's cleared pretty much. I mean, there might be a couple of things like my eyesight still needs work, but everything is overall excellent, which is great. And it's funny because I go through times where I'm like, oh, I don't know, am I making progress? And then I look at the chart and I'm like, wow, I really am. It's really consistently healed and healing.
Can you let go of the mind chatter of that maybe saying that you're not okay? I mean, that's the next big one, is that if you can let go of the story that you're not okay, and know that you are okay, and know that when you check yourself, you can figure out whether you are or not. But in the meantime, between the two times that you check yourself, can you just allow yourself to be, rather than worrying whether you're being or not being? Did that make any sense?
Yeah. No, I mean, yes, that makes perfect sense. I was just talking to my friend earlier, and I was just telling her how socially weird I feel and uncomfortable, and how I have the story in my head that it's me, my whatever, that's creating my social weird uncomfortableness.
Well, tell me about tell me about your social uncomfortableness.
Just like going to a party and meeting people and finding that, or I feel like I don't make strong connections with people. I feel like I can't really talk about what's happening, or I try, like I was telling my friend Tammy that there was a point in my past when I would have a list of topics that I would talk about with people, and I would use that as my fallback on. And then I got tired of that because I felt like it was just that it wasn't working. And then I just decided, oh, what the heck? I'm just going to share when I go. I'm just going to share whatever's happening in my life and see what happens. And that's kind of where I am. And I try to do that and be real in the moment and whatever is happening. And I don't know. I just have a hard time connecting with people. And
Well, why do you want to connect?
Yeah.
Why do you want to connect?
I guess because I want to feel that we have a resonation, that we have an understanding, I guess. And often I feel like I don't get that with people.
Well,
I suppose.
it begins and ends with you.
Sense.
It begins and ends with you.
Yeah.
So, on the mirror, if you say, I am enough, right?
Yeah.
We've been doing this exercise in the teleclinic. I've asked everybody to write on lipstick or a sticky note or whatever, I am enough. And if you truly believe that you are enough, then you're not looking for anything outside of yourself. It doesn't mean you're a snob. It doesn't mean that you're aloof. It doesn't mean that you don't like people. It just means that you're self-contained and you're okay with yourself because you are enough. You're not looking for any verification, any confirmation, any yada boys or yada girls from anybody because you're just okay. And when you feel like that and you go to a party, then you can just be you. You can just be the magnificent you that you are. You got no agenda. You've got nothing to say and really nothing to do but show up. And the beauty of that is people will just gravitate to you like unbelievable. They'll want to know who you are and how you're doing and why they just can't help themselves. They're going to come to you because you have no agenda. Absolutely zero. And you'll feel so comfortable in that, and they'll be so, just by showing up, you'll be a little light in in their darkness. And I don't mean that in a negative way. I don't mean that other people are less. I don't mean that at all. I'm just saying that when you feel good about yourself, most people don't. And when they feel somebody else who's comfortable in their skin, well, they all of a sudden they get really attracted. They want to know what you're doing, how are you doing it, why are you doing it, and they want to have a conversation with you. They just want to be around your light. They just want to get a piece of you in a good way. Some of them not maybe in a good way, but the point is that becomes really a nice test for you is when you feel nervous or when you feel, oh my God, I have to go to this party and I have to fit in, or what am I going to say? And if you could just remember that, you are more than enough. You are enough and you're more than enough, and just show up and be authentic, that all sorts of magic is going to happen. You're going to meet the most amazing people who are going to come up and say hello to you that you never even knew were in that group or anywhere around. You're going to meet people that in your community that will blow you away because you're in the right vibrational frequency to allow that to happen. So
yeah, that's really helpful because it helps take the load off of. I kind of take the load off of other people that I had somehow when I
don't expect anybody to do anything.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
It'll make the rest of your summer lots of fun to see how it works.
Yeah, I'm going to tell myself that a lot and go into social environments with that state of mind.
Look at your
That
son.
would be really helpful.
Your son doesn't worry about it. He just shows up. He just goes out in his bike and everybody, Tom, Dick, and Harry. And everybody loves him. Why? He's not trying to be anybody. He's just him. Yeah. He's so much being him, everybody loves him. They can't help themselves. And they want to come and say hello to his mom. Who is this kid anyway? Who is this kid? So comfortable with himself, he's going to light everybody else up like a Christmas tree wherever he goes, right?
Yeah.
That's your kid.
Yeah.
Just being your kid.
It is.
You're not trying to be anybody else. And you just show him being totally real. And that's the beauty of him. He knows how to show up.
Yeah.
And the more you can foster that and make him feel secure about just doing that, despite what people may want to do to shut him down or say, you know, that's not right or whatever the story may be. If you can allow him to light up and continue to light up to be like a little Christmas tree like that, you're going to go a long way. Because you have that self-assurance, right? And people will love him for that. So he's a little role model for you. He really is.
He is, yeah.
In that way, yeah. I mean, other ways you definitely got to be his mom, but that one he's got down pat, right?
Oh, he does.
Yeah.
He does. Yeah. The first time his great grandma met him, she was just like, "Oh, that boy knows what he wants."
Oh yeah,
knows.
that boy knows definitely what he wants, and that boy's
Yeah,
has no problem telling the whole world what he wants.
Yeah. He's a firecracker.
You got any other questions?
Look at my thing. I had been with this. I just had been doing a lot with the soil in my bioregion. Lots of Sangiovini's. 20.
Wow.
31, 51. Yeah, 20 from the soil. The soil wanted 20. And then we had another book, and there's been 5 so far in this other book. And yeah.
What other book are you using? What other book are you using?
I'm using the Sangiovini book, and I'm using Mind Field Repatterning book of charts.
And
there's a PDF that I got from Dave Cowan.
Okay. Are those, what are those? Are those charts or what?
They're charts. Where is it? I'll give you an idea.
So you downloaded his charts. Yeah, David is a really good friend, David Cowan. And
I downloaded it. And it's been pretty interesting because I find like one thing that came up was political organizations, and the first thing for the soil, and the first thing I thought was, that just doesn't really make any sense. And then I just did it, and then something came into me, and it was just like all of the violence that happened on the land was basically influenced by political organizations. And it was like, oh, wasn't so far-fetched.
Right.
Little things like that. But so I'm using that, and then I'm using the book that you sent me, the Pendulum book.
Yep.
And those are my main, and the Sangiovini's, and those are my main tools for accessing information.
Great.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can remember. I have a whole set of, I think they're called sigils. I think it's called SYGILS that a lady has created, and I've used them, and I'll see, I downloaded them and put them somewhere. For example, I have them in all my water systems here, so that the water goes out and nurtures all the trees and all the plants. And they're like Sangiovini, but they're for plants and animals. And I've been playing with those. You may also be led to do some yourself. You know, I think you have an artistic bent to you, so you could also allow yourself to ask the fairy kingdom or the elemental kingdom if there is some downloads that they need to for healing, and ask them as you get them, what's the impression, or what's how to use them. I have a friend who does that. Her website is called The Butterfly Garden. If you want to take a look at her, she's German. And her book of paintings, I use hers all the time in the garden. Her one for healing plants, I don't know how many plants I've healed here, both trees in the garden and like a plant that the window was left open and it got frostbitten, and plants that feel they aren't doing well. I've cleaned up disorders and diseases with it, and they're all downloaded. All of her book is downloaded, and I really love her work. And who knows, you'd be maybe gifted with the same sort of thing. And there are sort of like geomantic patterns that she's gifted with, and then she gets an intention statement behind it. So, yeah, so there may be ones that you're to develop as well. And they're just communication tools between worlds, right?
Yes.
There's an ancient whole body of information. It's called the language of the birds. That almost, I think it predates even language. And the language of the birds is, I don't know much about it, but I know it goes way, 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 way back. And in that is, again, the communication with elementals and the fairy kingdom. Because one of the beliefs is that, humans and fairies used to be much more interconnected than we are now. In fact, there even used to be crossbreeding between the fairy kingdom and the animal kingdom. I don't know if you've experienced, but I've met many people where I can tell that they have fairy blood in them just by the way that they move through their life, the way that they are hypersensitive, the way that they can feel things and know things. So the fairy blood still runs in some of us. In Ireland, they call those people, they're fae, right? They're gifted with the sight or the foresight, or with one of the kinesic, or one of the seven clairs, like clairaudio, clairsentient, or clair whatever. So, there is that way of crossing over between the two kingdoms. Another person who I really, really respect, and I don't know if his name's going to come to my mind right away, and I've done quite a few things with him and have his books. And he's Scottish and written many books about dealing with fairies and the crossroads, and he has many meditations on DVDs to take you to the crossroads, between the north, the south, and the east and the west. So again, it would be like, to use what we just talked about, we're counting down from 5 to 1 asks to be put in the crossroads, between the north, the south, and the east, and say, I'd like to meet my allies. And you just wait there, and an ally will come and present itself from one of the directions. And you can say, you are the pure, divine, pure light. Are you, do you abide by the law of one, which is do no harm? Do you have the most benevolent, do you ask for the most benevolent outcome for all concerned? And if you are, then you and I can work together. And if you're not, I want you to walk on by, right? So that becomes your protection. And you'll be amazed, but will show up to work with you, right? So that's a meditation at the crossroads. And it's a crossroads in many, many ways. It's the crossroads of the north, south, east, west. It's the crossroads of the underworld and the overworld. It's the crossroads of this world, the underworld, and the sky beings. So, for example, every sacred site has 3 levels to it. There's a physical level that you see. There's an underground level of the energies which are charged in the earth, which is usually like a spring of water, like a dome of water, that where all the water comes together, and it's so strong it pushes the earth up. It's called the dome of water, and it's got the electromagnetic energy. Like if you actually drill down, you have an artesian well, because the pressure is so strong there of all the energy coming together. And then that becomes the sacred site. In the early days, humans would discover that it was easier to birth there, or plant medicine was stronger there, or, they could communicate better there. And then they started to then bring in standing stones, which are electromagnetic generators, to bring in the sky energy through the standing stone and connect it with the earth energy, or the energy that's running underneath the earth, and then that electromagnetic energy would then allow them, when they stood up against the stone, to have memories and to connect with other dimensions, right? And then when they started to align them with the stones, with the stars, and with the equinoxes, then they can now connect them like a medicine wheel or a stone wheel, or like a telephone connection, an interdimensional connection to other kingdoms, right? And then they realized that when they did that, and they did standing stones in rows, they could take the energy from a sacred site down these rows of standing stones and deliver it to a field and charge the land, impregnate the land with this solar energy so that the crop would grow better. So, or they could use the standing stone to call in the water into that area so that it created a dome of water to feed the landscape. So this is geomancy, or a geomancer is the one that works with these energies and can call these energies, and understands how to work with all those elements of rock and, you know, and soil and water and air and sacred, and enhance sacred sites, and also create sacred sites, which is what you're doing by creating ritual in the landscape. You're creating a sacred site, right? To our sacred altar in the landscape, or a landscape altar in which you can then communicate to the angel of the landscape, the angel for your landscape, and have a conversation with her. And you could ask her things. Okay, now I work with the elements of this. What else? What other work do you want me to do? Or how else may I gift you with being a human? How can I help you accomplish what your goals are for the landscape? Like maybe in this dry season, the land needs more water, and so maybe it wants you to work with how to bring more water to the landscape, or how to raise the water table so the trees can reach the water and don't go brown, or you know, who knows, there may be all sorts of different ways in which the landscape diva wants you to work with her. So that's a little bit about geomancy and the sacredness of the landscape, and how to work with all those elementals together. It's almost like becoming a magician, but a magician not of moving the energies around and about you, but using the different elemental forces in combinations with you in sacred geometry laid out on the landscape to enhance the sacredness of the site, or to bring energy in, both for elemental benefit and for humans, and also probably for angels as well. So that's a body of information that you can start to play with as well. And that was a creation of all sacred sites. You know, and then when the church came along, it chose those sites in order to build all the churches. So all the churches in Europe are usually over top of a wellspring, a dome of water, which was a sacred site, on top of which is built a church. So for millennium of people have gathered at the same time, even before they were Christians. You know, the Druids would gather at that same place and that same site. And in fact, you know, that's the way that you conquer people, is to take your dominant thought and you supplant it over top of what's already there, which is a cruel and unjust thing to do, but that's what's been done, you know. And so under many cathedrals throughout Mexico are Mayan temples, or they're built on top of Mayan temples underneath them. And if you go through Europe, many of the mounds or the wells right underneath the church is exactly where the pulpit is. So right underneath the PowerPoint in the spire of the church where you deliver the message is a spring of water underneath, which gives you the magnetic power to deliver your message. And then, of course, you're above everybody, so everybody has to look up. So now they're in a hypnotic state as you deliver the message to them. Anyway, we don't want you to get into conspiracy theory and everything, but you know, there is a knowing of these powers, and there's a misuse of them. And you know, part of our job as planetary as the planetary cleanup crew is to take all the misuse of these powers and stand it on its head and put it upright so it's aligned with the forces to bring about planetary change and transformation. So that's the big job that we're doing. And so all the clearing that you're doing of, human trauma locked in the landscape is a way of helping us prepare for this new earth or this new way of being. So that was a lot of words, but, I was in a flow. So, I might even include this as part of the wellness show. And maybe this is the next wellness show. Maybe you and I just did the next wellness show on geomancy. So there you are.
Wow. I don't know what to say about that.
Well, the fun thing is, because without somebody asking questions like you, without an inquisitive mind, then all this flow doesn't start to happen. Because it's only in the question is in the answer, which allows the third connection to source, and then the flow happens, and then the teaching can happen. And many times I get to learn from myself because it's not me, it's coming through me. So I get to learn as well. That's the beauty of having somebody like you, because it takes three of us, or two or more gather, there am I. And that's the divinity or the divine flow. Whether it's earth energies, Christ energies, spiritual energy, allows us to tune into that greater part of ourselves and receive this guidance that otherwise is not available to us, and much harder to seek as an individual, much easier to achieve and to download as a group. That's the power of the group consciousness. So we're right on the hour. Yeah. Any last things you'd like to say, or any suggestions or ideas?
Thank you. And I'm gonna focus on talking to the angels of the landscape and open my heart to that possibility and see where that takes me. And I feel really excited about that. I feel like that's going to bring me out of my Disneyland.
Yeah,
things.
It'll take you in a whole different way of seeing the landscape, from Disney to reality and to orbs and to all sorts of possibilities. So have a great week. We'll talk to you next week. That was fun playing with you. And give that little guy a hug.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, I will. I love you, Tyhson.
Bye-bye. Love you.
Bye-bye. Love you. Love you.
For quality online wellness products, courses, and services, visit our sponsors, thewellnessstore.ca and the Extraordinary Healing Arts Academy located at thewellnessacademy.ca. To stay in touch, visit us at thewellnessshow.ca. And until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.